What's up, everybody? Welcome to another Mortgage Coach Friday Mastermind. I love these masterminds because we get a lot of people, have a lot of conversations. To help me co-host today's call, we got the one and only Todd Bookspin, Mr. Win by Noon. Did you win by noon yesterday, Todd?
I kicked ass yesterday. I mean, it wasn't even, I won by 11. I was crushing it.
I love that, dude. And we have Mrs. One to Many, TCA Tuesday, Deborah Bird, social media guru. What's up, Deborah?
Hey, I think we need a kick ass by noon sticker.
Ooh. All right, I'll put that on the list.
I like that. Let's rock that out.
Yeah.
So just as a reminder, any new loan officers tuning in or people new to the community, we do this every Friday at 9. It's a mastermind format. Every Tuesday at 9, we interview someone amazing, or I interview someone amazing. Been doing it for over 10 years. If you're not following us on YouTube, follow our YouTube channel. Again, if you want to be the best of the best. Before I bring on our two special guests to kick off the topic of today, we had what I would say was an important call on Tuesday. We called it VA Strategies. We had 3 amazing mortgage professionals that are also red belts at Mortgage Coach, meaning they do over 1,000 total cost analysis. And we were just showing tactics and strategies to help put more heroes into homes. And I think, my biggest takeaway from that was how Rick Bentoncourt talked about a VA is not just a loan program, it's a benefit. It's someone that someone earned for serving our country. So it's an important call. And then it was also really special because Dan Rawich shared a story about a Vietnam vet who is in need of help right now. I'm really proud to say we raised, I think, $11,000 or $12,000, Todd, in a GoFundMe. Our goal is $18,000. So there is a video where we just took the 8-minute story in the raise, and that's on our YouTube channel now. So if you just want to hear the story, and then there's a link. And my goal is we're going to pay off this man's debt, which is about $8,000 in personal credit card debt, and we're going to help turn one of the bedrooms into his house, the garage to his house, into an Airbnb so he can generate revenue and help this 80-year-old Vietnam vet have a better life in his final days. So check that out, guys. I think it's important. And Dan Rawich started it. He has really served our community. So let's get into the topic at hand. We're going to talk about how to win with financial advisors. I'm going to say one thing. If it was a smart thing to do in 2020, which it was, if it was a smart thing to do in 2019, which it was, it's 3 to 10 times more valuable today. So let's start it off. We have 2 amazing mortgage coaches. They're both grandmasters. They've done over 1,000 total cost analysis. Craig Strent is going to go second, but Josh Metal, why don't you go first, brother? It's been a long time, and I'm looking forward to hearing your passion around this topic.
Well, I like the phrase grandmaster. I'm going to make sure and share that with Hillary and make sure she's aware of that. That was the best introduction ever.
Yeah, red belt grandmaster. I expect you to have a red belt on tonight.
Grandmaster.
Yeah.
I love that. I'm going to have to live up to that. So one of our coaches and mentors in this industry, I know I speak for Todd as well here, was Daniel Harkavy, and he wrote this book called 7 Traits of Effective Leadership. And one of those was having a really clear perspective on your current reality. So I'm going to share just a few stats that I've been looking at in terms of what current reality could look like for 2022. Give me a thumbs up, Dave. You can see my screen.
Thumbs up.
All right. Thanks, brother. So this is the MBA's annual 2022 forecast. And I know that the MBA is not always 100% accurate, but I do think there is some insight here as to what we can expect to see in the year ahead. So MBA goes on to say that refinance originations will slow further next year, decreasing by 62% to $860 billion from $2.26 trillion in 2021. So we're going to see a slowdown in refinance volume. That's no surprise to anybody. MBA also forecasts mortgage originations will total $2.59 trillion in 2022, which is a good year. That's not a bad year at all. But it's a 33% decline from this year, which meaning 2021. And in 2023, mortgage originations are expected to decrease to $2.53 trillion. Now, there's a silver lining. Purchase originations are forecasted to reach new successive records in 2022 and 2023. And then the bottom section here, they just say, 30-year fixed mortgage rates are expected to increase to 4% by the end of 22. So we know that we are in a rising interest rate environment. We know that there's going to be less refinance volume out there for most, maybe not the mortgage coaches out there who know how to liberate capital and use the equity in homes to create cash flow for families, which is exactly what we're going to dive into here today. But we have some headwinds. And other headwinds that I'm aware of, team, is the fact that inventory is becoming an issue. So this is a report that came from Redfin, and they just reported on December 1st that housing inventory, for sale, active listing home supply hits an all-time low. So, the shining light in the MBA forecast is that home sales are going to be up. Great, but those home sales are going to be difficult because of the headwinds in inventory, and our realtors are going to be more frantic and scattered, and our buyers are going to be more frantic and scattered because you have this incredible number of buyers clamoring for a limited amount of homes. One other thing I found really interesting, and I don't know if everybody's using this data point, but Redfin compiles this data nationally and reports it every week. So it's the most real-time data that I'm aware of. And they track active listings. And this is a little confusing, team, because there's two different graphs here. So kind of bifurcate those. We're just looking at this top graph. And each one of these trend lines is a different year. So we'll see, let's see, active. Okay, so here's our active listings right now. We'll see in 2018, at this time of the year, December 3rd, there was 983 active listings. Then we go to 2019, we go to 2020, and we go to 2021. Right now, or on December 5th, there's 563,000 listings across the entire country, which is a year-over-year decrease in the number of listings by 25%. So I just did like some napkin math here. There's 128 million households in the United States, and there's 563 active listings. That's one listing for every 227 US households. And if households move about once every 10 years, that means that we can expect roughly 22 households, 22 of those 227 households will be looking for a home. So if you follow that math, there is 22 buyers for every one house listing right now in the United States. And so, what I want to frame this conversation around is that there are going to be headwinds in the year ahead. We are going to see higher rates. We are going to see getting realtor meetings could be more difficult because I don't know about you, but my realtor partners last year barely had time to see me. And those are the people that I had established relationships with, because they're having to write multiple offers to get people under contracts. And there were just all kinds of challenges when you have 22 or 23 buyers to every active listing. And so what we are going to share with you today, and really, Craig is the grand master here. He's built an entire career around working with financial advisors, but we're going to offer the thought that if rates are going up and if realtors we can forecast are probably going to be as frantic as ever, that maybe there's another place where we can look for opportunity. And if we've honed our mortgage coach skills well enough to realize, yes, as interest rates go up, our refinance opportunities go down. But also, what is also true is as equity goes up, our refinance opportunities go up. And so what we're going to share with you today is a little bit around a mindset shift that refinances don't have to be tied to interest rates. We have to break that correlation in our head if we're going to really thrive and survive in 2022. And the new correlation that I want to build this year is that refinances are also tied to equity. And as equity goes up, we have more opportunity. And if we can take that knowledge that we share with homeowners and show that value that we can create with financial advisors, this year is an incredible year. I'll close with this and I'll hand it back to you. I pulled this off my shelf. You guys recognize this book? This has been on the shelf for a while. Yeah, Tom's got it behind him. What I never realized about this book is this top headline. And this has never been more true. You know, Gary Keller wrote Shift right before right during the mortgage recession and crash in 2006, 2008. But the top of this headline says it's not about the market. It's about what you do. And what Craig and I are going to dive into today is a different strategy. And it's all going to be about what you do differently in 2022.
Well, that was
over to you for any thoughts or feedback.
That was a powerful opening. You know, what he just shared is not only a great setup for the topic at hand, but from a business planning perspective, guys, this will be on YouTube. Rewatch that. Josh, I can already see people going, hey, can I have those slides? If you don't mind sharing those in the Mortgage Coach group or forwarding them to me. Those are good slides for a realtor lunch and learn, a business briefing as we do year-end planning and we prepare for next year. Craig, why don't you tee it up? I've got a few thoughts on the topic at hand, and then we'll dig into the how to actually do what we're going to talk about.
There's a huge opportunity in working with advisors, and part of that is being where other loan officers are not. And of course, as we move into this next phase here in the new market, we're going to see a lot of the loan officers who really were doing a lot of refis and property purchases, but maybe you haven't focused very much on your realtor partners. Now you're going to be circling back to them. Everybody else is going to be doing the same. It's everybody going after the same referral partners, and they only have so much to give out. So what is the next place where there's a massive sea of referrals that are available and where you can add really tremendous value? And that's the financial advisor niche. And there's a couple ways that we would get in front of advisors, and I can go deep on the tactics there, Dave, when you're ready. But the opportunity is huge in that most advisors have no loan officer relationship. If you ask them why, they generally say either they had a bad experience with a loan officer or they don't know any good loan officers, none have called them. So they're very much open to a warm meeting, unlike a realtor solicitation, where it's much harder to get in front of the referral partner. And so what you would say with regard to advisors, people talk about trying to get past the gatekeeper. Let me give you a couple quick statements here. Can you see my screen?
We can.
You can?
Yeah.
Okay, so here's the statements for the advisors. Statement one. Are you looking at the statements, Dave?
Yeah, statements for the advisors, how to obtain a meeting.
Great. Okay. So I partner with financial advisors to leverage the liability side of the balance sheet and accelerate achievement of financial goals. Throw that out to the advisor, and they're immediately going to say, what does that mean? Now you have your opening to the advisor, your explanation. Then I create new cash flows for you to invest, and I help preserve existing assets under management from leaving the portfolio. Advisors want two things. They want additional money to invest, and they want to keep the money that they're managing under management. So if you can actually show them how you can help them do those things, you're immediately going to be massively valuable to their practice.
Hey, Craig, before you move on there, can I just comment on two things on that? Do you mind?
Please.
What I love about those two statements, number one, is your first statement puts you on even planes with that financial advisor. I partner with financial advisors. That to me is just a very powerful positioning. And then I lost your screen there. Can you pull that back up?
Yeah.
And then the second statement, I create new cash flows for you to invest, and I help preserve existing assets under management from leaving the portfolio. That statement is 100% to the benefit of the advisor. It is from the perspective of what does the advisor care about. So in two sentences, you have said, you position yourself on an even platform with that advisor, and Everything that you're about to share is for the benefit of the financial advisor. Far too often, people talk about and think other people care about what benefits them. They want to know what is in it for me. And you've answered that in the first two sentences. And I think that scripting is incredibly powerful.
That's exactly right, Josh. And the what's in it for me is what you have to lead with. And it's not about giving them referrals. It's actually better to give advisors more cash flow to manage than to actually give them a new client referral. Because if they have fewer clients with more money, that's actually a much easier way for them to run their practice. So the what's in it for them is the creation of new cash flows and the preservation of existing assets. Those are the two main points you want to go with. And a lot of people have asked me, how do I get past the gatekeeper to even get to the advisor on the phone? That's really not that hard. Warm introductions from your database, past clients, friends, and family is really the best way to go. It's very simple. Are you happy with your advisor? Yes. Would you mind introducing me? Sure. Are you happy with your advisor? Do you have one? No, I don't have one. Even better. Can I make a warm introduction to you to a local advisor that I know? Either way, it's a win. If you're having trouble getting to the advisor for whatever reason, even with the warm intro, they're not answering the phone, nothing else. Video and case studies are the way to go. Advisors like math. They like specific examples. Don't try to take them to coffee and get to know them better. That's not how it works at the beginning. Send them a Mortgage Coach TCA, a case study with a video by email saying, hey, I know we haven't been able to connect on the phone, but let me show you an example of how I create new cash flows and preserve assets. I've had a lot of success where I can't get them on the phone at some point. I send them the video. They say, wow, this is amazing. And they're ready to meet. Back to you, Dave.
All right. So stop sharing your screen real quick. So guys, let's make this interactive. Lori Richardson already commented, brilliant, right on, Josh, advisor math. So another thing I want to make the case for, guys, is when you look at this opportunity that we're laying out today, there are a little over 300,000 financial advisors, quote unquote, financial planners. There's over 1 million life insurance agents. There's over 600,000 CPAs, guys. So there's a lot of folks. And by the way, you can find these people on LinkedIn. You can find these people, Googling, who are the top 25 loan officers in Portland, Oregon, or excuse me, financial planners. So there's a lot of ways you can find them. And of course, the best way of all are warm leads, page 5, making sure you're asking your clients, hey, who's your CPA? Hey, who's your financial planner? So you can find them. But here's the deal, guys, as Mr. Mortgage Coach, my goal for anyone that tunes into this community is to make you the captain of the wealth team, make you the single most valuable advisor in your local marketplace. I expect you as a loan officer to be more valuable than a CPA to a family, more valuable than a financial planner, more valuable than a realtor. And my expectation is you're the one putting these people together. Like, the best financial planners, the best CPAs, the best realtors, and you're putting on events. We talk a lot about, there is a financial literacy crisis in America. Well, this strategy is not only a great biz dev strategy for all the reasons that Josh laid out, it's also a great strategy so that you are helping in this financial literacy crisis. One of my favorite interviews this year was with Mike Garrett, $100 million producer in the Atlanta area. And he's actually taking, his partnering with realtors, his partnering with financial planners. It's going into high schools and he's teaching financial literacy classes, and he's getting loans from teachers. He's getting loans from parents. And you know what else he's doing? He's getting better at being a teacher and bringing this kind of financial literacy. So guys, my last thought before I just focus the whole call on the how, like more scripts. Now, what do we do when we're in the meeting is just to remind you guys, equity is up, and there is a massive opportunity to help millions of families make better decisions. But to do that, one, you need to be a mortgage coach. You need to be an expert at asking a family the right questions and then being able to optimize their equity, their debt to help them achieve their financial goals. And then you need to be an expert at actually getting meetings with CPAs and financial planners and blowing their minds. So that's what this call is all about. Craig, let's do another how-to. You had one slide there. I don't think you showed the other one. Let's get into some more like how to actually get the meetings and how to actually execute in the meetings. And Josh, feel free to keep jumping in. Deborah, I am going to be calling on you for like, hey, how do we take what you're learning here and putting it on social media? And Todd, jump in anytime you want to make sure that there's a, win by noon taking action note.
Thanks, Dave.
Here's
another slide. Can you see this one, prospect questions?
Hey, so we'll let you know if we don't see them. So just pull up your slides, guys. And if we don't see it, we'll let you know.
Prospect questions to open up the mortgage planning conversation. So this slide is now the consumer slide to get the consumer to the advisor. So the other slide I showed you is how do you get the meeting with the advisor? This is the slide to generate a referral for the advisor and to get consumer thinking differently about their mortgage and how it's a tool that can leverage their financial planning goals, right? So are you currently, so what's the rate? What's the closing cost? Great. I'm going to answer those questions. In fact, I'm going to send you a detailed analysis where I break it down using a total cost and we'll go over that. Is that okay? Great. Great. With your permission, can I ask you a few questions ahead of that so I can make sure that the total cost analysis I show you is properly structured to complement your financial planning goals? Of course you can, Craig. So now I've just moved from rate and costs into another conversation around mortgage planning. Okay, so we've got them off that, and now we're going to go to this. Are you currently taking full advantage of your employer-sponsored retirement plan? Most people are not. Okay, are you on pace to fully fund a 529 plan for your children's education? Most people are not. And finally, you have the property insurance policies in place to protect your family in case of disability or death. Most people do not. So now what we've done is we've created the opportunity where there's other needs that have to be filled. And we've created a sense of curiosity around, well, what does this have to do with my mortgage? And how can me possibly calling you and asking you what the rate and the closing costs are sort of pivot into this, and how can I help that? So now when I'm calling them back and going over the TCA that same day, or my team is doing that, we now are mindful of these questions. And when we create the new cash flows and we show them the benefit of a refinance, we're going to not just tell them they could save $300 a month, which is where most mortgage coaches would stop. But we're going to, and we're not just going to show them that it'll turn into this if they invest this much. We're not going to do that. We're going to tie it to a specific need. You could save $300 a month. And if you do so, I know you mentioned your son was 10. That's going to mean he's going to have X number of dollars for college 8 years from now. It moves from a mortgage transaction to a mortgage plan. That's the big pivot when you're asking these types of questions, and you're completely repositioning yourself in the conversation and in the relationship.
Josh, anything you want to ask or add to that?
Yeah, there's a lot. What comes up for me is that Craig is living the modern mortgage manifesto. And this, when you're transitioning from selling rate and price to selling advice, it's going to feel a little bit awkward. It's going to feel uncomfortable. And what I would say is that's okay. Craig didn't feel comfortable asking these questions the first time he did to a client, but he had conviction that the answers to these questions would allow him to put forth a better mortgage plan for that family. And then 5 years later and 10 years later, those clients came back to him and he went, holy crap, they took my advice and they're in a way better financial position now. And what if I wouldn't have had the chutzpah to go a little deeper and ask these questions? Like, what is the risk of all of the families that we fail to serve? And we should be more afraid of not asking these questions and failing to serve these families the way that we have the ability to serve than we are afraid to ask these questions. And so I can tell you that the first couple of times that you ask questions like this, people are gonna, they're gonna pop their head back, but you're going to be able to give better advice. And Craig gave you the tie down. He gave you the way to make this all make sense. If you ask these questions and we don't take notes, and then we don't tie in the answers to these questions to the advice in your TCA, then we're just wasting time. But if we find out that an extra $300 or $500 a month in their budget would enable them to fully fund their 401k and get their full employment match, and you say, I did the mortgage strategy you asked me for, and I also created 2 more because I want to make sure that you have every opportunity to receive your full employer match. That is the moment where you transcend from salesperson to advisor, and you have a friend. You have somebody that you're going to have a relationship with for a very, very long time. So kudos to you, Craig. I love it. I love what you're doing.
All right, guys. So we got about 5 minutes till we're at the halfway point, and I do want to transition pretty close to the halfway point now. Like, okay, we got meetings. How do we execute in those meetings? Community, if you have questions around how to get a meeting, I don't want to overcomplicate that. I did write a book many years ago when I was an operator and a producer in the business called The Art of Referral. I'll put a link down below to it. And I talked about how I used to get meetings. I had hundreds of CPAs and financial planners. And while it's pretty old, everything in it works today, other than you have Google now. So you've got a lot of online resources. Deborah, real quick, before we ask these guys a few more questions about how to get meetings, anything jump out at you so far that you want to put in, like, hey, here's an idea to put this on social media and generate leads?
Well, the first thing I want to say is not just on social media, but we're heading into January, and it's okay to reach out to your database of clients that you've already helped get a mortgage and have a, new year, new budget planning, whatever you want to call it, where they can look at their, mortgage plan. Are they on track? Are they not? And maybe you didn't ask them who their financial advisor was at the time when they applied, or they didn't have one then, now they're working with someone. That is a chance for you to have a face-to-face class to start the new year to help people implement their financial goals, which everyone's kind of talking about at the start. You can get a list of good referral sources and names of possibly financial advisors that they could give you warm intros to. And then what I would do for social media is kick off the year where you have a content curriculum, not just a post here and there, but this takes consistent messaging to create a paradigm shift for people, especially the average consumer, when you don't learn this in school. So remember, with social media, it's got to have a consistent channel where you make one day a week your episode of different financial principles that you're consistently talking about, so they can have that paradigm shift moment.
Love that. And Deborah, would you mind sharing in the Mortgage Coach group, one of your clients that's done a nice job of calendaring this out? Give us a sample of what a Deborah Bird best practice content calendar looks like.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. All right. So Todd, I'm going to bring you for some taking action in just a minute, but Craig, anything else you want to make sure you get out in this chapter of this call around getting meetings? Anything else you want to cover before we get into executing in the meeting?
Just that meeting prep is really important as well. You're only going to get one chance at it, and making sure that you've got your case studies dialed in, you've done your homework on the advisor, and got questions ready to ask them about their practice. That's super important. Advisors, they're not part-time people like a lot of agents. They don't work weekends. They're very much professional, 9 to 5 kind of people for the most part. And you want to go in with a very professional mindset. It's different than a realtor meeting in a lot of ways. So meeting prep is particularly important as well, Dave.
Yeah, make sure you check them out on LinkedIn. They're going to be more likely to, have a thoughtful LinkedIn, know where they went to school, know how long they've been doing it. If they used to work for Ameriprise or Schwab and now they're independent, you need to know who they are professionally. And so can't emphasize enough. Also, Google them, seeing, hey, are they active on social media? What's their website? Like if it's a financial advisor and they're active on Instagram, which would not be normal, that would be unnormal, but know that if they've got a YouTube channel and they're creating video content, which isn't typical, but you should know that. So yeah, Google them, understand them, and come in like to be able, I'm not saying this should be your script. My advice matters. And then you should be able to make a case for that pretty quickly. And so let's get into that, guys. Josh, are you still here? I notice I don't see you on video, bro. And it's okay if you're not. Okay, you're still on video. So Josh, someone had asked, can I get a sample of a TCA that Craig sends? Craig, I'm going to give you a little time to dig one up so that you can show a TCA. Because guys, it's not about Mortgage Coach. That's the other thing I want to say. It's not about the technology, about the Mortgage Coach. It's about the case study. It's about the fact that you asked questions and you presented strategies to a family. That is the big wow here. Mortgage Coach just happens to be the easiest, fastest, most professional way to do that in today's world. So Josh, let's say you got the meeting. Give us a minute or less on how you prep for it, and then tell us what you do and how you do it, and show us at least one total cost analysis within how you respond to this.
Yeah, and Craig, I got a big storm blowing in, so if my internet drops, just be ready to take over, brother. So I'm going to go back to what Craig opened with, that getting the meeting, and then as I show up to the meeting, is all about the advisor, and it's all about serving the family. So that is the framework. And I'm going to use words like, what I try to do in my practice is help clients figure out how to liberate capital. I know that the earlier that they can start investing, the more wealthy they will become. And my job is to show them principles like the rule of 72 to help them understand how quickly their money will double by investing that money. My job is to show them that people have an assumption that the lowest interest rate and sometimes the lowest amortization, the shortest amortization, a 15-year loan, is the fastest way to wealth. That's dogma that we've been taught. But I try to show them that that's not always true. In fact, 9 times out of 10, that's not true. And so what I brought with me today was some case studies. These are real life examples of conversations I've had with clients. And the way that I try to expand their preconceived notions and show them how important it is to liberate capital, to diversify so all their wealth isn't just in their real estate, and most importantly, to get as much assets under management with you as possible, because I know if I can do that early, they're going to become more wealthy. So what I'll pull up for you is just an example of a case study that I did with a client recently. This particular client came to me and they had worked their way through medical school. They had been given a gift and they had scratched and saved and done the best that they possibly could to put together a 20% down payment because they were taught that it's unresponsible and it's risky to buy real estate if you don't have at least 20% down payment.
Hey, Lisa, thank you so much.
There we go. By the way, I film a personalized video to every client. So when I'm creating this message, I try to get them on a live Zoom, but I find sometimes their spouses can't come. So I film a video walking them through this. I'll give you the highlights real quick. So in this first column, Dave, the client came in and they had barely put together 20% down payment. When I was going through my initial call with them, I always ask, what type of post-closing liquidity are you going to have? Are you fully funding your retirement account with your employer and realizing that match? What would happen, God forbid, if we ran into another COVID event the month after you close this house? What's going on with your liquidity and your other investments is what I'm trying to get at. And what I found out with this client is literally they had $100,000 to their name, but they figured by time they close on their home, they'd be able to scrounge together another $5,000. And we were going to take every single penny to get them into this home. And I said, now, why are you doing that? And their answer is, well, I think that's the way that it's going to be the safest, number one. And number two, that's the way that I think we'll be able to, build the most amount of wealth in our home. And I said, great. Let me take that information. Let me create some options for you. Let's come back and look at a few different mortgage strategies. So when I represented this to her a couple of days later, I showed.
So guys, did everybody else also lose Josh, or was it just me?
We lost him.
All right. So I'm going to share my screen. We'll get Josh back, everybody. But that was a good case study. I hope, words matter. Are we still, hang on, let me get the screen away from Josh. So hopefully it's sharing my screen. And now, well, guys, we're gonna keep going. We'll get Josh. Craig, why don't you pick up on the case study conversation? Because I know you guys both do the same thing, although you probably have some nuances in words that you use. And then whenever it's appropriate, why don't you show your screen and walk us? Well, looks like it's appropriate now, and we see your screen, and share a strategy.
Great, thanks, Dave. And I think where Josh was going with that was certainly by showing someone to put a smaller down payment and freeing up that cash flow to meet other financial planning needs. And that's a function of some financial planning concepts that I think are really great to talk about with customers, people miss. And that is having a well-diversified portfolio. Most Americans, their primary wealth, if you were to draw a pie chart of their total wealth, the largest category is generally home equity or real estate. So that's like owning one stock as your most. That's not really that intelligent. That's not a well-balanced financial plan, including stocks, bonds, cash, real estate, and everything. So people often don't realize that. And they need to sometimes I just literally whip out a piece of paper and draw a circle and show them and ask them to fill that in. And I think in Josh's strategy, talking about maybe put less down, make your real estate exposure a little bit less, but now take this money and meet some of these other financial planning needs, especially if you're a first-time home buyer in a dual income household, certainly making sure you have the right life and, more importantly, disability insurance policies in place to protect your family in that home that you just purchased for them in case, God forbid, something happens to you and you can't make those payments. So that's one thing. This case study that you're looking at is a move-up buyer. And this is a layup, in my opinion, to show to advisors because it's a triple win, and I'll explain why. In terms of the move-up, Josh talked about inventory. We know home equity has run up, values have run up. So those homeowners you have now in your database that are calling you to be first-time sellers and move and buy another bigger, more beautiful home for their families, a lot of times those conversations I'm finding, when you say, how much would you like to put down? They're saying, well, I'll just roll my equity over. And the reason they're saying that is because they don't know any better. They don't know that that's generally not a great strategy to just take the equity from here and just throw it into the next house over there. So in this case study, we've got 50% down, okay? And if you look at this, you obviously see the payment is different between the two. It's $1,044 different. We go into the reinvestment strategy and we say to this homeowner, look, instead of 50% down, put 20% down. You'll have an extra $239,000 in liquidity. Now, let me bring your financial advisor in or introduce you to one if you don't know one. Assuming a 6% rate of return long-term, very conservative, and most advisors will agree with you on that number, okay? If you put that money aside and let it grow at 6%, even if every month you set up a backdoor automatic payment of $1,044, the difference in payment between the 20% down and the 50% down. So we're not asking you, Mr. Homeowner, to pay more money. Make the payment you're comfortable with as if you put 50% down. Separate the money from the house, creating safety, liquidity. Very important in financial planning, safety and liquidity. Then have a separate auto deduction of the $1,044 to supplement the payment. You'll never even realize because it's happening from your advisor account. And if you do that, at year 30, you're still almost $400,000 ahead of where you would be if you just made the 50% down payment and didn't make a monthly investment. So we've created safety, we've created liquidity, we've created an opportunity for a greater rate of return than the cost of the mortgage. And also we've created a large pot of money here for the advisor to invest on behalf of the homeowner. Where the advisor is going to absolutely love this is if the advisor suggests this strategy to their client, the client thinks, oh, he just wants to get my money so he can invest it. When the mortgage person suggests it and shows it this way, in this manner, I am third-party validating the strategy and then giving a very warm handoff to the advisor with a pot of money for them to invest right away. Dave?
So fabulous case study. If you could be sure to share a link to this in chat, and we'll get this on Facebook. If you're watching this in YouTube, there'll be a link down below. Well, there'll be several links. Josh has one or two total cost analysis. So is Craig. And remember, they're case studies, and they're case studies so that you're showing financial planners, CPAs, insurance agents, anybody that's part of the wealth team that's serious about helping families, you are an expert at helping people optimize their equity, achieve their financial goals. Let's face it, in today's market, there's a lot of opportunities out there for move-up buyers, people that could move up, should move up. And if they had the clarity of actually what it looks like to move up, they'd be listing their homes with agents, which, remember, Josh opened the call with, for every 22 buyers, there's one listing. So let's unleash some move-up buyers. And by the way, guys, realtors love move-up buyers. It's a listing, which they love, and it is a buyer that is motivated, a buyer that actually has, going to sell their home, has to buy a home. So someone that's likely to win in today's bidding wars, nothing better than move-up buyers. And to do that, you need to use Mortgage Coach to do it. So it does look like we got Josh back. Before I bring Josh back, Todd Bookspan, any taking action notes, any win by noon wisdom that you have for the crowd so far?
Well, it's all the wisdom we're getting from Josh and Craig that I'm going to just kind of highlight some parts I think that you all need to be thinking about how to implement into your business. I mean, first off, think of the terms that they're using, right? They're not, Josh isn't saying how much cash do you have in your bank when you're done. He's talking about liquidity, right? These are financial advisor terms. Craig's not saying, let me show you an example, right? He's got his labeled case study. Like that's the whole idea. It kind of goes back to what Rick Betancourt said on Tuesday, right? You're doing VA loans. That makes you a benefit administrator, right? Think about what you're saying and how to get there. And then you've just got to schedule the time to make it happen, right? In the end, where I hear over and over people say, hey, what did Josh just do? Like he gave you the why, right? He laid out where he goes on Redfin to look at the information. He gave you the links, but he actually took the time to do the math, right? When Dave said, hey, remember, there's only one house for every 22 buyers. Josh took the time to do it. Now you just need to go back and rewatch this when it gets posted up into YouTube and then learn that exact script to be able to tell your clients, right? To set the why, and then watch the how-to scripts that Craig gave you. He gave you the scripts for the advisor to get the meeting. He gave you the scripts for your clients in order to get who are the advisors, and then schedule the time in your calendar to make it happen. Because in the end, it's not that hard, right? I recently was looking for a financial advisor for myself. Who did I call? I called my wealthiest real estate agent friends, and I called my wealthiest clients, and I got a referral from them. And guess what? That actually gave me an opportunity to go in and sit down, learn about them, and then, oh, by the way, let me tell you about my mortgage team. And I was able to have a high-level conversation with them because of that. You guys are good. You guys can do this too if you choose to prioritize it. And all that's going to mean is you got to schedule the time. One of the things that Josh said before we got on this call was we were talking about the fact that he used to come down to Arizona a lot. And he said, well, I'm not planning anything now till June of next year. How many of you will take an appointment or do something next week or next month? Josh says, hey, I am so focused on my important priorities that I'm not scheduling anything new till June. I'm just telling you, take a couple of hours in December and then a couple of hours each week in January and get some financial advisor appointments by using what we've learned so far. And I know there's more to come here in the next 20 minutes or so.
All right, guys. So we got the first case study in chat. It's both in Zoom, it's in Facebook, it will be in YouTube. I want to get 2 or 3 more before this party is over. Also make note, Deborah Bird is making some social media notes in chat. So Josh, we got you back. I don't know how much you want to finish that last case or you want to share a different one. Where do you want to go from here, brother?
Well, unfortunately, the storm has totally knocked out my internet, so I'm through my phone. I'm not going to be able to share the TCAs. I'll try and drop them in the chat here, but let me just kind of put a bow on this. The point of that case study and what I was walking that financial advisor through is that we need to get good at explaining to clients opportunity cost. So the client's perspective, all they're thinking is 20% down and that money reduces my monthly payment on my house. But what they're not thinking about is if you put 20% down versus 10% down or 5% down, then that money is sitting in your home. And real estate doesn't appreciate off the amount of equity you have. Whether you have 0 equity or 50% equity, the real estate asset appreciates at the same rate. So if you've tied up capital in equity in your home, that means that money, there's an opportunity cost. That money is not outside growing and compounding. And so what I showed in that case study was there's about a difference of $75,000. If they put 20% down, they were roughly $105,000 cash out of hand. If they put 5% down, they were roughly $30,000 cash out of hand. The difference between the two, they had about, it ended up somewhere around $70,000, $75,000 to invest. And what I showed in that case study was that if their goal was to create the most amount of wealth, that putting 5% down and taking the $75,000 in additional capital, $70,000, and investing it with a knowledgeable financial advisor at a 6% rate of return ended up making them something like $300,000 more dollars over the long term. And that started a conversation about the rule of 72. And we start to talk about, do you know how money compounds? So when I'm having a conversation with an advisor, I'm going to start using some of this terminology that separates me from most mortgage advisors. I'm going to talk about the time value of money. I'm going to talk about opportunity cost. I'm going to talk about the rule of 72. And I'm going to talk about having some money outside of the real estate asset in terms of not putting all that money in the down payment is actually less risky because you're diversified. And if something, God forbid, goes wrong with your job, getting money out of your house is a lot more difficult than getting money out of an outside investment. So those are the things that we start talking about with financial advisors. And I'm telling you, when you show somebody a case study, a TCA, and you show strategies with leverage that make clients more wealthy, the eyes in those financial advisors, like they've never seen anything like this in their entire life. It is such a very, very powerful tool.
So a couple notes, guys. Anybody that's ever read the book, The 4 Love Languages, what Josh just shared is every financial planner's love language. They love numbers and they love clarity that's going to get a client to invest more money with them. So just that conversation is like, oh, I don't want my clients getting advice from online lenders. I don't want my clients, even if they had a family member who's in the mortgage business, they're going to want to go with a mortgage coach that speaks their love language and is showing them how to invest more money and optimize net worth and be a better investor. So guys, if you've got to be an expert at having case studies, again, if you want to be the captain of the wealth team, if you want to win with financial advisors, you need to be a master of case studies. I want to remind you guys, every Wednesday at 11 o'clock, it's mortgage strategy training with our director of e-learning at Mortgage Coach, Suzanne. So last Wednesday, we focused on BA loans because that was Tuesday's topic. Next Wednesday, you know what? I'll bet you Suzanne is going to want to focus on the financial strategies talked in today's call. So next Wednesday, 11 o'clock, if you want to be there live, that will also be in the YouTube channel. We'll be teaching the strategies that Josh and Craig are sharing today. So guys, we got about 12 minutes left. We could go a little over, at least I can. Craig, do you have any more case studies to share or anything you want to make sure you cover around how to execute in the meeting?
Yeah, and Dave, I just posted in the chat the Financial Advisor Referral System, which has a massive number of resources in it, 18 modules of scripts, case studies, PowerPoints, presentations to show advisors, and so much more that I've put together. Sort of wraps up so many things I've been working on for years. I think it's important to call out.
Real quick, before we just run past that, guys, I want you to know something. I mean, this is a man, a grandmaster mortgage coach, a top producing leader, a mentor to other loan officers that has put together a platform that has, like turnkey. You want to be a master. So make sure you check it out. I'll make sure a link to that is in YouTube. I'll make sure a link to that is in our Facebook group. Check out what Craig has here, because I know he's put a lot of love, passion into it. And I know it's valuable for anyone that does the work. Anyways, keep going, bro.
Thanks a lot, Dave. Yeah, it's amazing what one investment of a commission can turn into in terms of hundreds of referrals for your career. Josh called out an important concept, and I know Todd touched on making sure that you know your concepts, and I want to call that out. You don't just run into this market. I know we're anxious. We want to make sure we back up. Education and prep is stage one. You've got to understand the financial planning concepts. You've got to understand what the advisor is thinking about. That's not that hard to do, but it takes a little prep work ahead of time. And one of the reasons that everybody runs to realtors and not to financial advisors or divorce lawyers or CPAs is because it takes a little more work and a little more knowledge to go after those sources. So that's why there's fewer loan officers that are willing to invest the time and the education in themselves to go after it. I think that's an incredibly worthwhile investment. I can tell you for a fact, in addition to it being a lucrative niche, it is a lifestyle decision as well, working with financial advisors, because they don't work weekends. They don't give out 3 names. They give out 1 name, your name. And unlike realtors, people pay their financial advisor for their advice, which means they follow it. Because if they're paying for that, they're going to follow it. In terms of concepts, Josh touched on one that I just want to really drive home, that I think homeowners really don't understand. And that is that there is a 0 ROI, 0 return on investment on home equity. 0. Equity in your home does not appreciate. It's the worst investment class you could think about, right? Because it's a 0 return and it's illiquid. You have to pay us to get it back. Now, I'm not saying refinance, cash out, put your money in the market. I'm not saying any of that. But I'm saying that it's an illiquid asset class. So an extra payment there is a terrible investment.
Don't you have a total cost analysis that will show this so you can be showing and telling at the same time?
I have a total cost analysis that I would show to advisors, Dave, and to the customer that I'll share with you on how you would properly present the refi.
So, and guys, pro tip for you guys here. If you're doing Zoom, you want to win your, think of the total cost analysis as a teaching tool that you'd show on Zoom. Or if you're going in person, might have a couple printed up and you want to have it ready to show on your mobile device. Personally, when I go into meetings and I know I'm going to be showing and telling, I bring an iPad or I bring my laptop. If I know I'm just going to be like showing and pointing, I might do my laptop. If I want to do scenarios and actually have kind of a working meeting, I'll bring my laptop. But always, when you're teaching mortgage strategies, they're going to be easier to remember, easier to understand if you're showing and telling with Mortgage Coach. We'll tell you when we see your screen. And we see your screen.
So totally emphasize what Dave said. Case studies to the meeting are the most important thing you could bring. I like to bring them printed out in color for the advisor. So I'll give him a copy or her a copy, and I'll have a copy myself. I'll also bring my laptop and spin it around so I could show them how I present live as well. In this case study, this is a case study that I want you to see. That's basically how you should be presenting refinances to the customer and then to the advisor, okay? So column 1 is always the current loan, and column 2 is whatever they asked for. Okay, so that's important. If they asked for a 15-year fix, then that should be in here. But always in column 2, put whatever the customer first asked for when they called you. Okay, that's the best practice. Column 3 is your 30-year fix. Okay, now most people will stop there. What we want to do is we want to show you what you can do with that money. Now, the majority of homeowners who refinance, a lot of them, they want to just pay their mortgage off sooner. So that's why showing them a pay down strategy, which I don't endorse, but that's why it's important to show it to them and to call out the freedom point. Remember, the freedom point is the point in which your assets outside of the home exceed your mortgage and you can pay off the loan in full. In this scenario, there's 25 years left on the current loan. Okay, if they go to the pay down option, 23 years. So if they refinance and apply their extra money back to the principal on their loan, they're still going to pay off in 23 years. Okay, and they think that's great. However, look at the reinvestment strategy here. So let's go more info, reinvestment. And we have a custom strategy. Okay, you've got to click on custom to do this. And it's a little pencil thing when you're setting it up. They're going to save $384.95 a month. Okay, if they separate that from the home, creating additional, again, liquidity and safety, 6% rate of return, it'll be at month 252 that they can reach their freedom point and pay off the mortgage in full. When they do that, the principal and interest of $2,087 becomes available in full. They reinvest that now for the remaining time on the loan until 30 years, and look what happens. Here, another $300,000 accumulated, but also the mortgage was actually paid off sooner than if they took the savings and just paid down the loan. Not to mention, they had the safety of all that money outside of the home, the liquidity, God forbid they needed it, and they had a better tax deduction because they weren't accelerating principal pay down, so they were deducting more on their Schedule A and shielding more of their income. So it's a complete win on every level. It's very hard to push back on that. and the advisors and the customers love it.
Wow. I mean, that's what's going to go through the mind of a financial advisor. You know, they've talked to loan officers that can close mortgage transaction. And here's the deal, guys. When Josh opened this, he talked about market trends that were going on. But, you know, there's another market trend that's going on. It's called online lenders that are public companies now. It's called, you know, more self-serve borrowers online. And here's the deal, guys. If you want to be a local referral-based mortgage professional, you need to be able to do more than a transaction. You need to be an advisor. You need to be able to say, my advice matters. And then you need to be able to show that. And for it to be obvious to a consumer, obvious to an advisor in a matter of 5 to 10 minutes, where they're just like, boom, this is my guy. This is my girl. So remember, guys, we do training on Black Belt. Craig just gave you a link to an online training platform that if you want to kill it with CPAs, financial planners, you know, it's a comprehensive training platform. You got a link to that. We might be able to go a couple minutes over. I do want to make sure that Deborah, any one-to-many, any social media strategies that are new or things that you want to call out before we run out of time here?
No, just that's a perfect example of how to go live on Tuesdays when you're doing your TCA Tuesday day. All you're doing is showcasing case studies. The only thing I would add to that is your intro is creating, again, because you're going on a social platform, so the audience is a little bit different, but creating that emotional connection where you're telling the story of the family that you just helped. So what was their problem, or the problem that they didn't even know was a problem, and then dive into your message, which is the case study.
So guys, just for anyone that is hearing that for the first time, you know, we have been advocating now for many months that you have a TCA Tuesday. So you time block Tuesday, and you do a 5, you know, really not longer than 15-minute one-to-many mortgage coach. So Facebook Live is a great way to do that. Discipline yourself, time block yourself. And every Tuesday, here's what's going to happen, guys. First of all, it's using Facebook. You're going to get an audience. You're going to get people looking at it. You're going to get good at delivering case studies. And right now, this is all about CPAs and financial planners. And so maybe for the next couple of weeks, you focus on pretty complex strategies for financial planners. But you can also do really simple ideas that are more realtor focused. Or, you know, there's some news, you know, like recently came out that Fannie Mae guidelines went up. So doing your TCA Tuesday, where you're using total cost analysis to show the increase in purchasing power that lots of people have. So that is a reminder, and that is a push. Todd, before we run out of time, I want to make sure you get to give another round of taking action notes. And then Josh and Craig, you will each have a minute to share your closing thoughts. Todd?
I think, you know, Craig and Josh, you guys nailed it. And I think one of the things that Craig pointed out, which I think was great, was that you do have to have the knowledge. There's lots of people asking for information. I was unaware of Craig's course and 18 modules of that. So I'm going to check it out. I would encourage you guys to do that as well. But in the end, that's the bottom line, is you need to learn what it is that you want to teach, right? If you're going to be an advisor at this level, I know you're all here because you're great at the total cost analysis, but when you saw how Craig went through and he did that custom scenario of how they were going to repay the debt and how they were going to have almost $300,000 higher net worth, that is what you need to learn. So definitely spend the time to do it. I mean, this is great, right? Josh laid out the why at the beginning of the call about refinances going down 62%, I think. And purchases might go up, but then he also laid out, well, hey, it's going to be a little scary because there's not going to be a whole lot of inventory for those purchases. This is a great opportunity for you. And I would just encourage you, as you head into the end of the year, spend the time, right? Really, like I continue to find as I'm teaching classes on business planning and life planning, is people are just busy, and it's really just prioritization, right? Where do you want your focus to go? And if this is what you want to see as part of your 2022, then you've just got to be intentional, get it scheduled, and make it happen. The resources are here in this community. Craig's got now a great resource, and just go in and learn it and make it happen.
All right, guys. So we've got 2 case studies from Josh in chat. So whether you're watching this in YouTube, down below, Josh has 2 case studies. Craig has 2 case studies. I would love for you guys in chat, like if you're someone that specializes in working with CPAs and financial planners, or you recently wowed a CPA or financial planner, and you're the Captain Well team, share your case studies, guys. Craig, closing thoughts, brother.
it's an absolute game changer in terms of how you will work if you're a primary source of business in this market. And one of the things that I did not mention is that whenever you have a source of business that you can generate that's not from realtors, that helps you get more realtor business because you're generating buyers over here, which you can then dangle to your realtor partners, which is going to help you with massive capture as well on the other stuff. So anytime you could generate leads, whether it's Josh doing it online or me doing it with financial advisors, anytime you could generate your own leads and control the lead and be the first one to it, that's going to help you generate more realtor business and loyalty long-term as well. So side benefit.
Such a good point, brother. Josh, closing thoughts.
Yeah, the closing thoughts are that your capability equals your confidence. And if you want to be more confident to get out there in front of financial advisors and have these conversations, then focus on the capabilities. Learn the finance basics to be able to have conversations around opportunity cost and the rule of 72. And so get familiar with those terms. Become a black belt inside of Mortgage Coach. I know I have the capability to show someone how to make another $1 million over 30 years by simply changing the direction of their cash flow from going towards debts to going towards investments. And that capability gives me great confidence to sit down in front of any financial advisor or any family. But the confidence never comes before the capabilities. So focus on becoming a master of building the TCA. Focus on learning how moving money, liberating capital, as Craig taught me, liberating capital from a family's budget and moving it towards investment makes a total game changer in the way that family retires. And as you cultivate those skills, your confidence will skyrocket and you will have no problems approaching financial advisors, CPAs, attorneys, anybody else in that echelon.
It's such a good point. You know, we got into tactics, we got into scripts, but if you are an expert, like if your advice matters, you're able to put a total cost analysis and explain that in different ways, you're going to get there, guys. You've got to become that person. So I do want to remind you, every Monday at 9 o'clock, we do beginners training. So if you're a white belt and you've done less than 20 total cost analysis, Monday at 9 o'clock, Suzanne will be doing a training. Now, if you've done, you know, if you're an orange belt and you're up, I mean, it is beginners training. Wednesday, 11 o'clock, every Wednesday, group training. And those are also available on the YouTube channel. So guys, this has been spectacular. Todd Bookspan, any closing thoughts for you before we wrap it up and close it out?
My closing thoughts was just that there's over in the chat is the links to get signed up for the Mortgage Coach classes. I think some of you are still scratching your head by those TCAs that Craig and Josh showed, and take the time and learn it, right? I mean, that's what it's all about. And, you know, Deborah shared her one-to-many strategies. Go to check her out at plugandplaysm.com. I think she's been such a valuable resource to our community. I would encourage you guys to look at her services as well. And then ultimately, in the end, Craig's laid it out and even threw a $450 discount in there. So I would encourage you guys to step in, check out Craig's product, because in the end, you know, Josh nailed it, right? Your capability, your confidence equals your capability and vice versa. So let's get capable, let's get confidence, and let's go out there and kick some ass.
Boom. Deborah, 30 seconds or less. Anything you want to say?
Just that, you know, to piggyback on what Josh said at the very beginning, to be more scared by or fearful if you're not serving. And so the whole point of all this is to learn so you can serve more. So those of you dialed in listening to this call, that is our mission and value statement at Plug and Play, where everything we do is about learning so we can serve more. So I challenge you all to now take action and go serve based off the information you learned today.
Hopefully you guys got a lot of value. Give this a like so that the social media algorithms get more views, so that we create more impact in the marketplace. If you're not already subscribing to the Mortgage Coach YouTube channel, subscribe so you get alerts when we put out new videos. And have an incredible weekend, everybody. This is a wrap. Take care.
Good seeing you guys.
Thanks, everybody. Great job.
Hey, thanks, you guys. Thanks, Josh and Craig. Appreciate your time, brother.
Thank you.
Brothers.